Right, we will start with the unit 2. That's a second the heads of income. Second one is unit 2, the income from salary. Okay, the income from salary. The first unit is over. So in the from first two units, you can expect the two questions. One is from the resident status calculation, and another one is calculation of the total income. So the 5 marks and 2 marks may be expected. And one more chapter is the exempted incomes. They're asking only theory questions. There is no problem on that. Okay. So even though that same chapter, it is coming under the next semester also. So that you can list further about that. And next we can move on the next slide. So computation of the total income. So while calculating of the total income of individuals, so we have to consider these 5 heads of income. So we can say the 5 heads of income. So the any persons or any individuals, they fall under these 5 categories. The first category, so he may be an employee getting salary from the salaries from getting the income. This is a one heads of income. The second one is, so if the person is not belong to the employee, or he may be in various house. So from the different houses, he may be getting the house rent. So the rent is the income to the house owner. That's a landlord. So we can say this is income. That income also it is taxable. The salary, the employer giving the amount for giving a service rented in the organizations. So that amount is received, that amount is salary. So that salary is taxable. So under section 15 to 17. So if any tenant or house owner receiving rent, so the rent is the income. For that income, you have to pay the tax. Next one is profits and gains of business or profession under section 28 to 44. So this is the third category, third heads of income. So under the heads, so any business or any profession, if your income or a gain getting, that's for that we have to pay the tax. So the business, in the sense, they can any kind of trading or non-trading activities. From the activities, they're getting the gains. And the profession, we can say professional activities. So chartered accountant, lawyer, doctor, engineer. So they are also getting a income, the fees and everything they collected. So that is an income. That income is taxable. Next one is capital gains. So the capital gain, the assets sold out in the market. So we can calculate the capital gain, the difference between the purchase value and the sales value. So for this, you have to pay the tax. So this is a fourth heads of the income. In the last heads, we can say this is called income from other sources or residual heads. So apart from the 4 category, if the person, the individual is not belong to any category, so all other income, any income is received, that income is fall under the category of income from other sources. Okay, the income tax department, they can give you a very wide scope of the calculation of the total income. So if any part of the income received by any individual, that should be coming under this any 4 categories. If it is not fall under the 4 category, so we can take it to the 5th category. So if you put together all the 5 heads of income, that is called total income. So totaling of all 5 heads of income, we can call it as an total income. So that is what first one is income from salary. Second category, income from house property. Third one, profits and gains of business or profession. And fourth category, it's income from capital gains. The last one is income from other sources. So these salaries and income from house property and profits and gains of business or profession. So these 3 things we are studying in this year. The remaining 2 parts will be can go to the next year. So next semester we are studying that 2 area. Okay, the first category, the salary, it's a very vast and big area. The salary includes the various components, the various things it is included. We can study it in detail about the salary, right? The first one, so we can go with the meaning. So what is this? They can ask in a 2 mark question, what is salary? So you have to write any remuneration, any monetary payments received, monetary benefits received by an employee in consideration of services rendered to his employer is called salary. So this is a 2 mark question. They may ask very frequently, what is salary or define salary, whatever maybe they ask, you can answer this question. Any amount, any service, any piece, any part in anything is received from the employer. So employee means worker, employer means owner. The owner giving certain amount to the, so the employee, that amount we can call it as salary. Okay, this is the meaning of the salary. So not next. Okay, so the salary, it includes in the different forms. The salary, it is includes in the different forms. So in employer, they are not giving even a single amount of money to the employee. He is giving salary in the form of different forms. Okay, so everything we can take it to the consider. Okay, first one is, it's a basic salary. So they're giving a basic salary. So basic salary, certain amount they can fix it for the basic salary. Then apart from the salary, the employee giving certain allowances to the employee. So take for example, the company itself, they're providing certain allowances. So take for example, we can say HRA, house rent allowances. If the employee is staying in a rented house, for that rented house he is giving a certain HRA, house rent allowances. For house rent allowances they giving. So we are having a different name of the allowances we given. Okay, and the next one is they giving a cash allowances. They can giving a traveling allowances. Traveling allowances means for a computation commuted from the home to the working place, for the traveling purposes they're giving a traveling allowances they given. Okay, and then they can give you a provident fund allowances. They're giving a provident fund they will given. So provident fund allowances. And next, they can give you medical allowances. If any medical expenditure is incurred for the medical expenditure, the company itself, they are paying the certain allowances. Then they give you CCA allowances. CCA in the means city compensatory allowances. In some of the person, they are posted in a very latitude area, in a hills area. So in that hills area, they can give you a certain additional amount. So if the person is working in a very remote area, in a rural area, so the salary may be in very less. If they can say same person is posted on the any city, it's a metropolitan city, or Delhi, Mumbai, or Calcutta, so that time they're giving an additional amount. So that is called city compensatory allowances. Sometimes the company itself, they're giving a lunch allowances. So lunch allowances, overtime allowances. In some of the director and managing director, so they are giving us some assistant to him or her. So that is called servant allowances may be given. So sometimes family allowances may be given. So tiffin allowances given. Deputation allowances will be given. So for a certain medical practitioner, the medical doctor, so they are giving a certain amount that is called non-practicing allowances. So if the government employee, he is a person is only working only under the government department. So if you are not opening up the any private clinic in his name, her name, so that time, so that allowances may be given. Project allowances given. Sometimes they're giving a dog allowances also given. Then marriage allowances given. Water and electricity allowances. So they can so water and electricity, that bill payment paid by the employer. So this is also the one of the salary. So this is also the part of the salary. So education allowances given, entertainment allowances given, tour allowances given. So in the allowances, in the form of allowances, it may be, so different kinds of allowances will be given by the employer to the employee for the more work from the employee. So this all the thing, it is given out of the pocket from the employer for the service rendered by the employee. So this also we can include it as a salary. These things also we can include it as a salary. Perquisites, so they are giving you some quarters. The accommodation may be given. So these are all things that we can coming under the perquisites. Other than the salary, they are giving us some. So profit in lieu of salary. So for certain part of the profit we can give in as a salary. The pension after the retirement, they are giving a pension. Some advance salary, arrears salary. So these all the things we can include as in salary. So this and each and every things we will discuss in detail. Okay. Now we will go on the first one. So this is a one we can frequently can see. This is called provident fund. So what is a provident fund? So they can ask in 2 more questions. What is a provident fund? So provident fund means it is credited by any amount deducted from the salary of the employee every month at a certain rate, and the employer also makes his own contribution to this fund. Okay, so this is a fund. It is set up by the central government and the state government for the benefit of the employee. Okay, so it means it's for the future. It's provide for the future. There is provident means it is provide for the future. So this when an employee retires from the service, he receives this amount in a lump sum along with interest on it. So at the time of retirement, this amount received by the employee in lump sum along with the interest. Okay, so this amount is also received at the time of death of any employee. Any employee death during that period, that amount is another given to his legal as or his wife or another husband. Okay, so this is a 4 category of provident fund are there. So 4 category of provident fund: SPF, RBF, URBF, PPF. So SPF, that means that is set up in the year 1925. That is called a statutory provident fund. This is called a statutory provident fund. So it is applied to the employees of the government, semi-government, local bodies, universities, and other recognized educational institutions. So this is a statutory provident fund. It is applicable to the government, semi-government, local bodies, universities, and other recognized educational institutions. So this is a statutory provident fund. Okay. Next one is recognized provident fund. That is called RPF. So this is set up in the year 1952. So this is set up in the year 1952. So it is recognized by the income tax chief commissioner. It is recognized in the sense this recognized by the income tax department, income tax chief commissioner of the income tax. That is called recognized. Okay. So this fund is maintained by scheduled banks, factories, several business houses. This is usually maintained by the private sector undertakings. Okay, and next one is unrecognized. So recognized provident fund, it is set up in the year 1952. 1952, it is recognized by the income tax chief commissioner. Okay, so this is for and it's applicable for the maintained by the scheduled banks, factories, and several business houses. Right. So this is in private sector undertakings. It is maintained by the private sector undertakings. Next one is it is an unrecognized provident fund. So then unrecognized, the name itself we can understood that this is unrecognized, this is not recognized, and it is not also statutory provident fund. So it is not statutory, this is not unrecognized, that is called unrecognized provident fund. Okay, it is approved by the PF commissioner but not approved by the provident fund commissioner. It is approved, but the income tax commissioner not approved. So this is called unrecognized provident fund. This fund is maintained by the private sector undertaking. So these two funds are maintained by the private sector undertaking only, but this recognized by the income tax department. This unrecognized, it is not recognized by the provident fund department, but so this provident fund commissioner, it is recognized. So this is called like this only. Okay, so for a time being we can not consider this unrecognized provident fund. So it is not required for calculation of anything from the income tax department. Right. Next one is public provident fund. So this we can call this an PBF. So this is started in the year 1968. This is started in the year 1968. Okay. So this fund, it is common, so everyone can open this account in any branch, any State Bank of India or any subsidiary banks and any banks. So 13 nationalized banks. So this is account is available. Any public can open this account Okay, so the contribution you can made with this, so that interest and the contribution, everything is repayable after 15 years. Okay, now, so these are all the provident fund category. So this provident category. So what is the tax implications? What is the applications of the tax? Okay, now we can move on the next slide. Okay, right. I can categorize the four category. So what is the tax implications? The first one is, so statutory provident fund. You need not worry about this statutory provident fund. It is a government recognized. It is an applicable to state government and central government. It is started in the 1925. So it is fully exempted. Whatever the amount is contributed by the employee, whatever the amount is contributed by the employer, the both amount is exempted. Okay, and next category, so unrecognized, I already told that, so for a time being we can ignore that one, is unrecognized provident fund. Okay, and public provident fund. So public provident fund, it is an own contribution of the, so that employee only, there is no thing about that employer will not interfere with this public provident fund. So no need of considering of these things. Okay, it is not applicable. So whatever the amount is given, that whatever the amount is putting on his account, it is maintaining an account. It is just like a State Bank of India and bank, say SB account. He deposited the money, so his own contribution, own salary he is deposited, so the employee contributed, so that amount is, it is not required. Okay, not required, it is not applicable. So if it is employer contribution, we can consider. So these things we can only take it to the 80C. We can take into the 80C. So when exempted income, we can consider that category only. So after calculation of the all the total income, and next that we can go for an recognized provident fund. So the recognized provident fund, in the sense, so there is a two contributions. I already told that there is two contributions. One contribution by the employee, that is a worker. The another contribution by the employer. So the employer contribution only we can consider as a salary. It isn't just like a salary. So they're giving the they're giving the salary, the salary in the form of, in different forms. So one of the form is provident fund. They can be contributing, the one of the form is provident fund. Okay, now as per the government, so 12% of the salary, 12% of the salary. So from that amount only, this RBF, that amount is exempted. So whatever the amount is given, by the employer, so that means it's a owner giving amount to the worker or the worker's bank account. They're giving, not giving directly to the employee, but the owner giving the amount in the form of recognized provident fund. If it is recognized provident fund, there is a certain limit for the provident fund. So that limit means, what is that limit? So that is 12% of salary. 12% of salary, it is only applicable. Up to that limit only exempted. Up to that limit only exempted. Above the 12% of salary, that all the amount contributed by the employer, you have to consider this employer only. So the employer's contribution, it is taxable provident fund. Okay, so now the salary, in the sense here we frequently use the calculation of the certain percentage from the salary. The salary in the means, the salary is, it is different from the various categories. The salary, I told that the salary, it includes the very large amount, the various forms. So the salary means it is in different forms. So for calculation of provident fund, there is a different kind of the salary is there. So here the salary, it includes basic salary. DA means dearness allowances. So dearness allowances means there is a two kind of dearness allowances. Enter into service benefits, not enter into service benefits. Enter into service benefits, that DA only we have to consider. Then commission on turnover. So these three amounts included as a salary. So here salary means basic salary, dearness allowances, enter into the service benefits, then commission on sales or commission on turnover. Turnover and sales are the similar meaning. And the next one, so this is a contribution by the employer. So we can remember that this is a contribution by the employer. Employer contribution only we have to consider. Employee contribution we can take it to the ATC, that is an exempted. That's not think about that his own contributions is a owner contribution இல்லையா கம்பெனியினுடைய contribution அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லையா. So next, interest on provident fund, the amount is accumulated on the provident fund account. So that amount, the interest also, there is a limit is there, that interest up to 9.5% per annum is exempted. Above the amount is taxable. Above the amount is taxable. Okay, so this is a category. Okay, with this I go with the one problem work out பண்ணுவோம். Then we will I will open your word file. So word file, in the word file I will work out the some problems. Okay, right, now can you see the problem? Right, so this is you can get it from the your book also, that page number 5.13 of say exercise number 30. In the exercise number 30, so this problem will be the same problem it is asked in your previous year question paper. The same problem it is asked in your previous year question paper. That question number is 17. 17 means it is a 5 mark questions. They asked in the 5 mark questions. Okay, 5 mark question la கேட்டிருக்காங்க. So என்ன செய்யணும்? So you have to answer பண்ணணும். Right, so என்ன கேட்டிருக்காங்க? Calculate the amount of RBF which is taxable. RBF means recognized provident fund. RBF means, so I will expand that. RBF means recognized provident fund. This is called RBF. So now this RPF means which amount is taxable. So we have to consider the employer contribution. This is a very important. The employer contribution, it is taxable. So if you are giving a employee contribution, need not worry about this. If you are giving the employee means, need not worry about that. So employer means the company, the owner, they're giving the amount to the worker. Right, now they're giving us some information on this. Okay, now we have to calculate. Right, so his salary is 7,500 per month. So he is getting salary 7,500. Right, so employer's contribution to recognized provident fund, that amount is 14% of salary. 14% of salary. So interest credited to RBF during the year at 12% is 24,000. This is a questions. So this is a question is given. With the question, you have to find out. You have to calculate taxable RBF. You have to find out taxable recognized provident fund. That amount should be calculated. Taxable RBF should be calculated. Okay, so this is the only 3 information only given. So that provisions, that rules will not be given. The provisions and the rules you should remember in your mind. Okay, so the I with the slide I will take it that rules to you. Okay, this is on rules. So this is on recognized provident fund rules. I will take it in the Word file. Okay, right. So before go to the problem, you have to understand. So these things. Okay, so what is the things? So if the exempted means no tax. Okay, so what is the exempted? Up to 12% of salary. So this is the rules. 12% of salary only exempted. So here you have to check it about the salary. So contribution is, we can check the contribution. Here it's a 14% of salary. So then the above 2% it is exempted. Okay, how to calculate? So now we can put here heading calculation of taxable recognized provident fund. So we can put here heading. So now you have to open the column. So insert. So particulars column, 2 amount column, inner column and outer column. So particulars, so PRTIC particulars column, then amount rupees. So rupees. So this is on rupees. Okay, right. The first one is First one is employers contribution. What is the contribution? Employers contribution to RBF or or recognized provident fund. So what is the contribution by the employer? That is called 14 percentage of salary. What is the salary? The salary is 7,500. 7,500. It is per month salary. So you should always multiply with the per year salary. 7,500. So 7,500 into 7,500 into 12 into 12, that is called 90,000, right? 7,500 into 7,500 into 12 multiply, that amount is 90,000 rupees. So 90,000 per year salary. So with the 90,000 is paying, the amount of employer contribution is 14 percentage, 14 divided by 100. Okay, how much amount is calculated contributed? So 90,000 into 14 divided by 100, that amount will come 12,600. So 12,600 paid to employees account in a provident fund account. In the provident fund account, he paid 12,600 to his employee account, the worker account, right? So now, so this 12,200, the amount is only is contributed. So we will take it with this. Okay, next column. Okay. So now next, so you have to less exempted recognized provident fund. So exempted provident fund means it is in 12 percentage. So 12 percentage means 90,000 into 12 divided by 100. 12 divided by 100. So that amount will be, so 90,000 into 12 divided by 100, that amount is 10,800. 10,800. So 10,800. Okay, I will take this all the calculations into the inner column. Okay, this is an employer contribution. So this amount is 12,600. So this calculation I will take it to the 12 percentage is only, it's exempted. 12 percentage only, it is exempted. So that it means, so up to 10,800 it is exempted. The remaining amount, so difference amount is taxable. Okay, what is that amount? 10,000, 12,600 minus 12,600 minus this one 1,800. It is an excess amount contributed in the employee account. So this amount is taxable. This amount is taxable. Okay. Okay, this amount is taxable. Okay, next one. So next one, right? Interest credited, interest credited, credit credited in RBF account during the year, that amount is 24,000. We have to write the inner column. So this is a 12 percentage. So this is a 12 percentage. Okay, so what is the percentage? So 9.5 percentage only exempted. This is the rules. 9.5 percentage per annum only exempted. The above amount is less exempted, exempted up to 9.5 percentage. Okay, so that it means, what is the amount? Okay, so 24,000, that it means 12 percentage, then multiplying what will be the amount of 9.5 percentage. So you have to divide 12 and multiply 9.5. So you will get the answer of 9.5 percentage. So if the amount is 24,000, it is considered as 12 percentage, that it means what will be the amount of 9.5 percentage. So that amount is 19,000. That amount is 19,000. Okay, then the excess amount is paid. The excess amount is paid. That amount is called 5,000. So then total taxable recognized provident fund is 6,800. You can check with the answer. Check with the answer in the book. Check with the answer in the book. That amount is 6,800. Okay, right. So this answer is correct. Okay. Right. Okay, I will explain. I will explain again the same problem. Okay. So this is you have to open it. All right. So this is our rules. So we can consider only recognized provident fund. Recognized provident fund. So the reason four kind of provident funds are there. So one is recognized provident fund, unrecognized provident fund, okay, statutory provident fund, public provident fund. So PBF. So there is a four kinds of provident funds are there. One is statutory provident fund, recognized provident fund, and one is unrecognized provident fund, and the fourth category is public provident fund. Okay, so now this unrecognized, need not worry. Statutory, it is fully exempted. PBF, it is a contribution by the employer. So these three things will be given. You need not go for on these things. Only you have to check with your problem whether it is a recognized provident fund. If it is recognized provident fund only, we can go for an application of these rules. So if it is recognized provident fund in the sense, then we have to verify that. So who is contributing the amount to the provident fund account? So for this recognized provident fund, there is a contribution by the two persons. Contribution by the two persons. Contribution by two persons. Who is the two persons? One is owner. So that owner means company. Company means employer. So employer also contributing, and another person we can call it as a worker. Worker, that it means employee. So there is a two contributions are there. So now if it is owner contributions, employer contribution, then only so we can go for an workout of the calculation of the taxable recognized provident fund. So in this category now, so this is a rules. This is a rules you have to remember. You have to remember always about these things. Any contribution by the employer, to the employee provident fund account, that amount should not exceed about 12 percentage of salary. Above 12 percentage of salary. So right. So the first case for the contribution, and the second case, if any interest accreditation or interest accumulated in the provident fund account, that amount also should be less than 9.5 percentage, up to 9.5 percentage. That interest only it is exempted. If it is above the amount, it is taxable. Above 9.5 percentage, it is taxable. The same case, above 12 percentage of salary, it is also taxable. Right. So in this case, I will go with the problem. So there's things will be given. The salary is given, employees contribution is given, interest credit is given. So here 14 percentage given, here 12 percentage is given. Now we can understood that there is a taxable amounts are there. So that's 2 percentage is taxable. Here is 2.5 percentage is taxable. So now we have to calculation of the taxable or be recognized provident fund. So I will write the inner column 12,600. What is the amount contributed in the PF account? So from the salary, so salary amount is given 7,500. The 7,500 is given in the per month only. So per month we have to consider converted into the per year. So how to convert? So you multiply with 12. 7,500 into 12. So there is a 90,000. So that amount, how much amount of the salary? 14 percentage. So this is a contribution to RBF account 12,600. Right? So exempted, what is exempted? The exempted percentage will not be given in the questions. So that is a rules. You have to remember up to 12 percentage. So 12 percentage of salary, 90,000 to 12 percentage. So 10,800. So the excess amount 1,800. So 12,600 minus less So this amount, so 1800, it is a taxable. This amount, outer column is taxable, the inner column is exempted. Okay, next interest credited, the second category, the 12 percentage is given. So right, you have to calculate if the 12 percentage is 24,000, that means what will be in 9.5 percentage, that you have to calculate. So how to calculate 24,000 divided by 12 and multiplied by 9.5 percentage, so that will call the 90,000 for the 9.5 percentage. How much excess amount is paid? So the excess amount is 5,000 rupees. So if you put total 1,800 plus 5,000, there is 6,800. It is a total taxable recognized provident fund. You can take a screenshot of this problem, right? Or you can write. So then take the answer. The answer also you can take a screenshot, right? Okay, now we will move on the next one. I'll give you one more problem. Okay, this is also similar case. Okay, okay. This is also. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I will give you some this problem to you. For there's only 1 minute only.